This is the panel presented by Sport Chek, coming to you from San Jose, California. Guys, let's get straight to it. Big changes in the organization this morning. Head coach Todd McLellan was let go. Bob?
Yeah, never an easy situation when these things happen. Obviously, the organization was looking for more traction at this stage. The Oilers were in a difficult stretch. They'd lost 6 out of 7 games. I think in 4 of the last 5 losses, there's been some real tough stretches during the course of actual games that was concerning. Ken Hitchcock is a guy with a lot of experience, and as Peter Chiarelli mentioned, a deal until the end of the year. So that really made him the best fit on a short-term scenario. For me personally, not an indictment on Todd McLellan's work. This is an organizational situation that has Edmonton where they are, so they're trying to salvage things to make a push for the playoffs, because as Peter Chiarelli said, the fans deserve that, so that's why they made the move that they did.
And where they are, quite frankly, isn't that bad of a spot. I mean, they're 3 points out of a playoff spot right now. The third-place team in the Pacific Division is winless in 6 and is under 500 right now. So I think that's why, if anything, the timeliness of this decision makes sense, because the season is not lost by any stretch of the imagination. At the quarter pole, 3 points out of a playoff spot, this is not fire alarm central. Having said that, I think what Peter Chiarelli talked about in his availability was signs of regression. Regression to, at points last year, regression even to the first 2 games of the year that saw the Oilers go 0-2 and within a period of falling to 1-3. I think Edmonton had a solid stretch, but when they came back to the mean a little bit, the mean at least that we've seen over the last, say, 100 games, that's why the decision was made. And Bob's indication about Ken Hitchcock, I think Peter Chiarelli's comment, in short order, he has the ability to instill something and get things turned around. We saw it at a very similar point in the season during the 2011-12 campaign, Jessica. He came in for Davis Payne in St. Louis and ended up winning Coach of the Year and taking a Blues team that had a very similar record to what the Oilers have now to the playoffs and a magnificent stretch. I think to some degree that preyed on Peter Chiarelli's mind, and the fact that his contract is up, and then the fact that short-term quick fix has some real traction with this team because, again, of where they are on the standings. You get a push, Jess, it's possible by the end of this road trip, Edmonton could be in a playoff spot.
Jack and me were in Montreal when that occurred, when Davis got fired, because I remember we went out for dinner that night and you're friends with Davis. And one of the things, the team's given up too many goals, okay? And so there was going to have to be a push to have, I think, a more defensive approach. Cam Talbot has, by his own admission, he'd be the first person to tell you, he's had 5 straight starts that have been losses where he's given up 4+ goals. So the Oilers have got to keep the puck out of the net. Ken Hitchcock, when he was coaching the chain, and I played against that team. I mean, they were an offensive team. In Kamloops, he was an offensive coach. There's this mythology out there that he's only a defensive coach. That's not true. But what he does do is he puts defensive structure and process in the team's game. And I think from a different voice perspective, that's kind of what they're looking for here, at least in the short term. I do think the Oilers are going to play a little bit differently here. I think they'll load up the top 2 lines. I think we'll see Jesse Puljujärvi get recalled probably by the end of this week, potentially. Peter Chiarelli and Keith Gretzky, Keith's in Bakersfield tonight. They're playing Colorado tonight. I think you'll see those, Yamamoto and Puljujärvi potentially back up.
Puljujärvi's had a goal in a fight since he's been down there, so he's engaged.
He's engaged, and there's a player that might benefit from a little bit different situation, but I think they'll load up the top 2 lines and go with 2 offensive lines and then make the bottom 6 guys focus on defending, and then they'll work on improving the team defense and try to rebuild some confidence in Cam Talbot as well. Because Koskinen, frankly, has played okay, but Cam's got to get going here and elevating his level of play as well.
Koskinen's going to start against San Jose. Just to illustrate Bob's point about the ability to coach offensive players as well, when Ken Hitchcock was head coach of the St. Louis Blues, Vladimir Tarasenko was in discussion as one of the top 5 players in the league. Yeah. He's no longer in that discussion. So he thrived under Ken Hitchcock. He was a 40-goal scorer year in, year out. He was an absolute beast. So Ken Hitchcock can coach the elite of the elite, which, of course, he walks into Edmonton having an opportunity to do that.
Well, and he has, correct me if I'm wrong, but has coached 5th most NHL games out of all the coaches.
And 3rd most wins, most importantly.
Right, 3rd most wins. So do you think that experience will bode well for such a young team that we have?
I think You know what, and I know it's been a while since he's won the Stanley Cup, but I think no matter what, the Oilers management group was looking for a guy that had won a cup. Hitchcock's the perfect short-term solution if you're looking to jumpstart things, because there wasn't a long-term commitment required. So from that end, it works as well. I mean, we know Hitch. This is a guy that used to watch Claire Drake's practices when he was working at United Cycle. The one more, and he's going to say it later today. He's going to say he's always wanted to coach the Edmonton Oilers, and that's true. And he's finally getting that opportunity. Again, it's always a tough day. I mean, you and me can attest to this, Jack. Todd McClellan was a first-class guy to deal with on a day-to-day business. It's a crappy part of the business, but Todd really understood the Edmonton market. Hitch understands the Edmonton market as well, and it is going to be a different voice, and now they got to go make the playoffs.
Yeah, now it's an incumbent, and Peter Shirley talked about this, it's incumbent upon the players to turn this around as well. It can't be just some sort of magic Ken Hitchcock formula, although every team he's coached, he's led to the playoffs. And three of the four, he's led to the conference finals. I mean, this is an accomplished coach at the game's highest level. So is Todd McClellan. The toughest thing, and again, when you cover the team on a day-to-day basis, you can't help but form an attachment to those who work with you professionally but relate to you personally. And that's why it's a tough day for the organization, because Todd McClellan not only was an excellent coach behind the bench, but he was an excellent ambassador within the Edmonton community.
All right, well, we will see what happens tonight. He'll be on the bench for the first time. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, thanks, Jessica.